Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're zeroing in on what feels like the hardest part for a lot of RC modelers, that final 10%.
Ah, yes, the decals. Specifically to me, RC decals.
Exactly. They're tricky because, they come on these big sheets, not pre-cut like some others.
Right, and if you want that really sharp, almost painted-on finish, getting the cut perfect is, well, it's everything. That's the mission today.
So we're diving into technique, but also this core question. Is it better to move the knife along the lines or kind of hold the knife still and move the sheet under it?
That's the crux of it. But hold on, before we even get to how we cut, we absolutely have to talk tools. You can't get a good cut without the right blade.
Okay, yeah, foundation first. What are we talking about?
Number one rule, treat your blades as consumables. Seriously. Use a fresh one pretty much every time you start a new sheet or complex graphic.
Because a dull blade just drags and tears.
Precisely. You end up using more force, which means less control, slips, jagged edges.
Yeah.
It's a disaster waiting to happen.
So not just any craft knife blade then. What's the go-to?
Well, the most recommended, and what I personally prefer, is the 30-degree blade. That sharper angle, it gives you much better visibility right at the tip, especially for curves.
Okay. 30 degree. Makes sense for seeing where you're going.
Exactly. Now, some folks, the real purists, might even use medical scalpels. They're incredibly sharp.
Wow, scalpels. Sounds intense.
It is. Super sharp, but maybe a bit overkill for most, and you have to be really careful. The key with any blade, though, is slicing, never pushing or forcing it.
Got it. Slice, don't push. Okay, so let's tackle that core technique dilemma. Method 1. Moving the knife. That feels like the natural way, right? Just tracing the line.
It does feel intuitive, yeah. And look, for dead straight lines, especially if you use a metal ruler as a guide, it's perfectly fine.
There's always a but.
But the moment you hit a curve, any kind of radius, it falls apart. Think about it. You're controlling the cut with tiny movements of your fingers and wrist.
Ah, okay. Those small muscles aren't great for smooth, sweeping motions.
Exactly. You end up making a series of tiny little straight cuts to approximate the curve. It looks faceted, like tiny stop sign edges instead of a smooth arc.
I've definitely done that. My early attempts looked terrible, really jagged on the bends.
We've all been there. Plus, it's almost impossible to keep the blade angle and the pressure totally consistent when you're just using your wrist.
So that leads us to method 2, the professional way you called it, moving the sheet instead.
Yes. This is where you flip the script.
Yeah.
You anchor your dominant hand, holding the knife steady, maybe at a consistent angle.
Okay, knife stays put.
And then your other hand, your non-dominant hand, does the work. It carefully guides and rotates the decal sheet into the stationary blade.
Huh. That sounds less intuitive, maybe. But I think I see where you're going.
It takes a little practice, but the difference is huge. You're engaging the larger, more stable muscles of your arm, even your shoulder, to control the movement.
Right, like drawing a big circle from your shoulder versus your wrist. Much smoother.
Precisely. You get beautifully smooth, continuous curves. Any radius doesn't matter. The pressure stays even. The angle stays constant. It's just cleaner, much cleaner.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense for control. Now, why is this so critical specifically for Tamiya decals? You mentioned something about the material itself.
Yeah, the material is key here. Tamiya decals, they're known for being, well, kind of thick compared to a lot of other brands.
Thicker. Why is that? For durability on the RC car body.
That's generally the reason, yeah. RC bodies flex, they take hits. Thicker decal material holds up better. But that thickness creates its own challenge.
Which brings us to the great debate. Leave a clear border or cut right up to the ink.
Exactly. And with thinner decals, you might get away with leaving a tiny clear edge. But with thick Tamiya film, no way.
Really? Why not? Isn't leaving a border safer? Gives you a margin for error?
It feels safer, but it's the fastest way to make your model look like it just has, well, stickers on it.
Yeah.
The thick edge catches the light, it creates a noticeable ridge, kills the realism.
Okay, so it ruins the painted-on look. What else?
Worse than that, it massively increases the risk of silvering. That's the absolute nightmare.
Ah, silvering. Where it looks like there are shiny air bubbles trapped underneath.
That's exactly it. Air gets trapped under that clear border you left. Light hits it, and the decal shines, almost like chrome in spots. It looks terrible and screams, decal.
So cutting close isn't just for looks. It's actually a functional necessity to prevent those air bubbles.
Mandatory. You have to trim as close to the printed ink as you possibly can. Get rid of almost all that clear carrier film. That's your best defense against silvering, prevents the air from getting trapped at the edge in the first place.
Wow. Okay. So no safety margin. You just have to nail the cut right on the line using that move the sheet technique.
That's the combination. Master the moving sheet technique for smooth, precise cuts, and be brave enough to trim right up against the ink because of that thick film. Do those two things.
And you conquer Tamiya decals. You get that flawless finish.
You get the finish. It's about combining the right technique with understanding the material.
It really highlights the craft involved, which actually brings up a final thought.
Oh,
We're talking about mastering the blade, this manual skill. But, there are digital cutting machines now, like the Silhouette Cameo or Cricut. They can automate this cutting perfectly.
true. They exist and they're very capable, especially for complex designs or if you're doing a lot of them.
So does that automation make learning this manual skill, this blade mastery, less important? Or is honing that hand skill still, like the fundamental core of true modeling finesse?
That's a really interesting question for anyone passionate about the craft, isn't it? Where does tradition meet technology?
Well,
Something to definitely think about next time you're facing a fresh sheet of decals.